welcome everyone. Chris here, and we're going to do some watercolors. We're going to do some flowers. We're going to use our cell phone here. I just went onto the internet. I found some really beautiful flowers. I did a screen capture on my phone so that I can save this picture. I saved this picture to my cell phone, my mobile phone. And we have the ability to zoom in and out. So that's really a great feature of today's cell phones. You can save the picture to your pictures, your photo file, and then you can zoom in and zoom out. So what I'd like to do here is just find a good spot that I think is going to look great for a painting, for a simple composition, flower composition. And I think something like this would look pretty good. Lots of colors, lots of flower shapes, some small flower shapes here and there. And if we zoom back out, you can kind of see that's a lot of information. So what's fun about creating your compositions and your paintings is you can actually, frame your own picture and frame your own idea of what you think is going to be a little more easy to draw and paint, where you're not drawing for hours and sketching for hours. Obviously, you want to try to keep things somewhat simple. So we can do this simple rendering just like this by zooming in. And then we're going to leave it at that. And what I'll do is I'll set this across for me and we'll start drawing and painting this. Okay, so I'm going to set this across from me on my board here. Okay, now I'll start out. Here I'll work free in a freestyle way. I'm not really going to make a border around this. We could tape around this. Well, let's do that. We'll put some tape around it just to give ourselves a nice border. So I just use some artist tape. And I just go around all four sides of the watercolor painting. Okay, so that's this is always good if you have some watercolor artist tape, and you can tape around the border of your paper. It really makes a nice border once you're finished painting. When you peel it up, it looks just beautiful. You can actually pin this, once the painting's done, you can pin this up on your wall, tape it up on the wall, maybe a magnet on the refrigerator, put it into a frame. If it really comes out fantastic, you can put a mat and a frame on it. But again, we're going to try to keep this somewhat simple. So I'm going to start with some of the larger flower shapes first. I'm just going to contour draw this, which I just start in one place on one of the flowers, one of the petals of the flower, and I just continually go around slowly and carefully, and I just check out my angles and I try to just capture what I'm seeing here. There's some other flowers here and petals, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just want to. This is a large carnation here, so just going to try to keep the shapes accurate to what I'm seeing. And then I'm going to continue over here. There's some more Okay, and I'm just going to continue up, and then I'm going to start to look for more. More shapes and petals. And if you find some of your drawing has drifted off a little bit, that's okay. You want to try to keep it as accurate as possible, but sometimes when you're contour drawing, I tend to say we want to sort of keep in the same location and just keep working from one location outward. Here I kind of skipped and went over here to the right, and I got into a little bit of trouble because I left a lot of space in between two sections of the drawing, which is okay. I'm going to work on it to make it look good, but that's always a key when you're contour drawing to remember, is to try to, does this make sense? To try to, like, once you start your drawing, try to work and stay within the close range of your previous pencil lines that you're making, and then branch out from each of those areas and continue on. So maybe you start on the left and go to your right, or you start on your right and you work to your left, or you start up top and slowly work down, or work from the bottom of the page upward. But I guess the key is to try to keep working very closely with the other areas you can relate your pencil drawing to, and scale all your other things to that which you've already completed. So if I was to, like here, I started over here, then I kind of skipped and went over here, and when I went over to the right side over here, I drifted a little bit away from this left side, and this should be closer to this, if that makes sense. Just something to keep in mind when you're contour drawing, to try to keep things, when you're working, try to always stay close to your original starting point, is what I think I'm trying to communicate here. If you can do that, then you've really got a better time at getting everything pretty accurate. So I'm just going to continue over here, and then I might go a little quicker over here with some of these flower shapes. I'm not going to go completely. And we got some of those. So I can make that work over there like so. Put a couple of leaves in there. It's also helpful to put a couple hash marks in areas that are going to be dark. Maybe there's dark leaves in here. Better to put some hash marks. This way when we're painting, we know where we're going to go with our dark greens. And there's some light too. We want to leave light here and there. So we don't want to fill everything in. So again, try to refer back to your drawing. And we are looking very good now. We have some of these purple flowers over here. All right, now there's some darks in here. Okay, so some greens over here. There's another green leaf over here. All right, so that's our contour drawing. This takes time, practice it. The key is really just, look, I really, the basic I know is, that I use is basically I just look back and forth as I'm drawing carefully. Back and forth, I look at where I'm drawing, look it back to the photograph, to my phone, back to the paper, back to the phone, so it's a constant. My eyes are almost like watching a tennis match. I'm just going back and forth, looking back and forth all the time, the whole time. Back and forth to the drawing, the photograph, back to the drawing, photograph, back to the drawing. And I'm just taking my time and just trying to capture the shapes as best I can, the distances between petals. And again, we noticed we wanted to try to, when we're contour drawing, we try to stay close to that which we've already completed with our drawing, and then branch out from there, because it's easier to judge the size of flowers when we're working on one over here, and then we look at the picture, we say, oh yeah, this flower, this petal here is only about half the size of this petal of the flower. And then we look back and forth, and we judge everything according to what we're drawing as we go. So if I go too far and skip all the way over to the right side of the drawing here and start drawing here, I might not scale it correctly, and then I'll have maybe a wide space that I don't want in between two sections of the flowers, if that makes sense. All right, so now we've done our contour drawing. We'll take a break. It takes a lot of concentration. Sometimes we might break this down into 2 or 3 sessions, where we might take 10 minutes, do a section, take a break, do another 10 minutes, take another break, and then we do the final maybe section, and then take another break for 10 minutes. So maybe we do this in a half an hour, maybe, 10 minutes each. 10 minutes, a little break, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a break. Then once we start painting, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to paint for a little while. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll maybe do 2 or 3, I would say 2 or 3 passages with our paint, with a little break in between each one. So maybe we'll do 3 sessions of painting with a little break in between each to get the painting done. Okay, and I always mention, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's real easy. There's the button below this video right here. If you click that button, subscribe, you hit the subscribe button, you'll get all my videos. If you hit the bell, the little notification bell next to the subscribe button, that means you'll be getting notified each time I make a new video. We're making new videos here on my channel at least twice, 3 times a week. We're doing some videos on drawing, some videos always on painting. We're always painting watercolors here on this channel, so you're doing everything watercolor on this channel, but we also do drawing on this channel as well, so that everyone can kind of get up to speed on practicing drawing, because drawing skills are a must when you're doing watercolors. Not every watercolor artist draws. Some watercolor artists just paint directly onto the paper, but most all, probably 80% of all watercolor artists draw first, and then they do their watercolor paintings. So let's kind of stick with the norm of what most watercolor artists do professionally, as well as people that are just, amateurs out there that paint for fun. We always draw first, and then we go in and we do our painting. So if we practice our drawing, we're going to have a great time. Be a lot more fun painting when we have a little bit of a game plan of a pencil drawing underneath it to get ourselves a nice painting, okay? So this is great. Let's have a lot of fun. We'll be right back. We'll do some painting next, and we'll get started. Okay, we're getting back. We're getting started again. I have some clean, fresh water in a water bucket next to me, and some fresh fresh squeezed tube paint in my palette. That's definitely the key to beautiful watercolor paintings and flower paintings. We want to have that fresh, moist paint. So any colors I was low on, I filled those up here in my palette. And then we'll just start out. Maybe we'll start out with some of the darker, maybe the green, leafy green areas. If you find that I spritz my palette with a spritzer bottle to moisten up the paints. Sometimes when that happens, I overspray, and I have to, it's good to just clear off that water that gets onto the palette. So I just use some paper towels and wipe up the water spray, so we have a dry metal palette to work from. And then we'll get some green out here, sap green. This is sap green here, olive green, maybe a little bit of cerulean blue. We'll get some greens going. And these are shapes that I'm painting in. And again, I'm going to try to stay close to my working area. As I'm working on this painting, I'm going to try to stay alizarin crimson. And then I might place a couple of, I place some of the darker reds, pinkish reds here for my flower. Then I try to dry off the brush, rinse it off, dry it off a little bit with some tissue, and then I try to lighten it up a little bit. And then I can go back in. Try to leave some of that darker red. Then we have some gold, some yellow ochre. I might not get into some of the extreme fine details of some of the flowers. There's some really incredibly fine details of some of the flowers. I might let those just stay as they are. And there's some orange here too. Some yellow. So I'll use some cadmium yellow, cadmium lemon yellow. Cadmium red. And I try to work some of those different orange and reds throughout that flower. And we'll go back to our alizarin crimson. And since we're down by the bottom here, we can be a little bit less worried about every detail when you get to the bottom of the painting at this point here. We can sort of, we don't have to have every detail worked out over here. We can just sort of can maybe make things a little more freer and some more cadmium red. And I'll just let that sort of mix and mingle down that way. And some more. And some more greens. There's some darks in here. There's some burnt umber too with that green, so I'm going to make some sap green and burnt umber, a little bit of French ultramarine blue, get a really good dark. And we're getting to that point where we've got a lot done already. You know, the bottom portion here is looking good. We'll do some leaf shapes here. And I'll take my needlepoint brush, maybe just do a few. And I might do the same over here, balance out the painting a little bit, a couple of burnt umber, sap green, French ultramarine blue. Working some of those And some more alizarin crimson. And a couple splashes. All right, so that's pretty good. Once we have, I would say we have about a third of this painting completed already now. The bottom section, we have a lot done here. Let's take a break. Our concentration level starts to fade after a little while, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Let's take a break now. We'll let this dry a little bit, and then we'll continue working upwards on this painting. And so far, it looks very good. We'll change out the water too. My water is pretty muddy right now. I want fresh, clean water each time I come back to paint. So I'm going to change my water out. And we'll just, we'll start up again in just a few minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And again, if just to remind, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below. We create these type of videos every week. Sometimes we'll do flowers. Sometimes we do beautiful seascapes or street scenes. Sometimes we do some figure work. So we do everything here, watercolor. And we also do some drawing videos now. We're working into our YouTube channel here, so you can practice up on your drawing skills as well as working on our watercolor paintings. All right, everyone, we'll see you in just a second. Okay, we just got back from a break. We're going to clean up our palette just a little bit. I'm going to just start fresh with some fresh colors, and we'll just tidy up the palette a bit. And my water's a little bit muddy, you can kind of see. So I'll change that out with some fresh, clean water. Okay, so we're all set, and we're going to get back into our painting here. We have some really beautiful orange flowers here, and some cadmium orange, cadmium yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, a little bit of cadmium red to mix in with that, just to, if we need to darken that up a little, maybe a little bit of raw umber. And we'll start out here, and we're going to and I rinse off my brush, dry off the water a little bit. You can tap it on a sponge too if you have a sponge in your setup, if you like to use sponges to check some water off here and there. I use my apron sometimes. And then we just very carefully a damp brush with clean water will give you that nice light feel of the petals of the flowers here. Then we're going to go back in for some greens. This is sap green, olive green, a little bit of cerulean blue. And if you have some green mingling with the orange, you can lift that up. And then we have some more cadmium, or that's alizarin crimson here. And then rinse off the I might take a little bit of splashing here just to loosen up there. Then we have some more and some more. This is also rose madder. I'm using rose madder. It's a little more transparent, I think, than alizarin crimson, possibly just a touch more transparent. It tends to give a little more of a lighter tonal value. And so we're going to do that there. Then alizarin crimson here. And we'll get that petal in there. And some more. And we're going to do some more orange. And some yellow in there. And a little bit of raw umber. There's a little bit of a dark there. And I'm continuing to work my orange flower here, the flower petals. And I try to be aware of the tonal values. So on my orange petals on the flowers here, they're a little bit darker here, and then they get lighter. Then they get light again here. And then a little bit more of a darker tonal value, that red, orange red color. And it's a little darker in here. Maybe a little bit of raw umber. A bit of splashing. And sap green. A little bit of cobalt blue, burnt umber. French ultramarine blue. I want to get a couple darks in here. I would say the key is not to fill in all the darks with green or the green mix. I would leave some white paper in between the flowers, almost like there's light coming through. You can see through the bouquet, so we want to leave those feelings of airspace going through the bouquet. And we're going to use some purple, and since I'm using some purple up here on the right, I want to add a little to the painting here, so I just want to make sure I use some purple other locations just so it doesn't there we go. And over here we have some purple. We always try to be careful if we have a little bit of colors starting to infiltrate into other colors. We just want to keep an eye on that, try to minimize it if we can. We just can tap up a little bit of Okay, so we have some good colors working around our painting. You can see we have lots of beautiful color mixed all throughout our painting. We made sure we're just really looking at our photograph, and we're making sure we have our oranges, our reds, our greens all mixing throughout the painting. We wouldn't want to just have one side looking like orange flowers on one side and then, you know, just putting red or pink flowers on the right. We try to mix in all the colors of our bouquet to harmonize the painting, keep everything sort of working together all as a whole. And we're at the point now where we have some really good I'm just adding a couple green washes. Okay, let's take another break. So this is our second wash. This is alla prima. We're just doing everything in one go. But we are taking breaks, and we're just working here kind of from the bottom of the painting up toward the top of the painting. So you can kind of see that we have a game plan of starting with our painting, putting in our darks first. We got those first greens going. Then we started putting in our orange and red flowers in. And now we're pretty much reaching the point where we just have a few more flower shapes up in this area here and over here on the right, and we're pretty much done. So this looks like it's really coming along nicely. I hope you're enjoying this so far, and we're going to take a quick break again, and we'll come back again. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We are creating these wonderful paintings like this constantly on our channel. Flower paintings, seascapes, landscapes, street scenes, figure work, and we also do study work where we do drawings and we cover techniques in the watercolor medium as well. Everything watercolor here on our channel. We'll see you in just a few minutes. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up our painting. All right, so we're back now, and we're going to continue on. We're looking at our colors here. We have our orange, cadmium orange, a little bit of cadmium red with our cadmium orange, yellow ochre, and then we have our alizarin crimson and also rose madder. And we're going to start working our oranges. And our rose madder here. Very light. Maybe a little splash or two. And we're going to put a little orange. And again, we're going to go in and we're working our rose madder, alizarin crimson. I'm following the lights and darks in my photograph. Green, sap green, olive green, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. And I'm just going to go in and get some of these stems. I'll use some chromium of oxide as well. And I'm going to try to keep these really light and not get too concerned with a lot of detail now. A little bit of yellow ochre mixed in there with the chromium of oxide. And that looks pretty good. A little more green here. Straight out of the tube paint there where there's a little bit of a dark. Now we have some purple. And I'll use some straight out of the tube purple there. And there's some mixtures too as well, so it's not all completely straight purple. We have a little bit of that alizarin crimson, I think. So I can mix that in just a little bit with that to give it some variety. And I'll try to go in, and if I see a few darks I missed, I'll go back in. And some more. Purple. And I will go in and get a little more green, burnt umber, maybe some chromium of oxide. And just get a few stems and twigs in there. And the same over here. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to empty my water just one more time. I want fresh, clean water. For the final wash, we'll do a little bit of wash to the background. So I use my fresh, clean water. And what we'll do is to make sure we'll use maybe a little bit of Prussian blue. Maybe I'll just Prussian blue with perfectly clean water. This way we can get that really beautiful wash. You know, if we're using muddy water, we're not going to get that really beautifully transparent look we're looking for. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to get some wash on here. And you don't have to completely, I would just do a little bit of wash color. And I wouldn't put a lot of water on. I would try to keep it this, the best way to do this is to definitely let everything 100% dry and then go back in and do this wash. Flirting with issues and problems here, I guess, because now that I'm doing this, it could run into these flowers and start to, you know, blossom and bleed and not look so great, but I can do this, I think, without too much of a problem. And so I'm just going to try to do it with very carefully. You could do some of it like this, and then once it 100% dries, then you can go in and fill in the rest of the washes. But this looks really good, that little bit of a wash with Prussian blue, and I would do it over here on the outer edges here as well, so that we see it throughout the whole painting, and we can even drop a little bit in here and there where these whites are. I wouldn't fill in all the white paper, but I would just maybe add a little bit of that Prussian blue in a few spots like that. And what that does is it almost creates the illusion that you're seeing it throughout the entire painting 100%. But we know we didn't do that. We're just trying to make the people that are looking at the painting think that. And then we can go have a nice cup of coffee and relax, and everyone thinks we worked really hard on this. Okay, looks good. All right, everyone, I hope you had a fun time. You can use this as the finished painting to work from if you want to do it that way, or you can hit the pause button at any as we work along. You can hit the pause button at any point in the video to stop and look at what we've done, or you can stop the video at the drawing. When we're finished with the drawing, you can stop there and then copy the pencil drawing and then continue on, and then you can use this. We'll do a little bit of a close-up here of this painting. So I'll move my palette out of the way here. Okay. And we'll see if we can zoom in a little. Okay, so that we can work from. If you want to paint from that, that'd be fun. You'll see all the colors the way I have them on the painting. And I'll also do one more view of the phone. So that's the phone picture. You can see how we wound up making it a wider painting than what we see here, and that's fine too. So sometimes when we go off our game plan a little bit with the drawing, it wound up actually working good for us because we got to make this more of a wider, like a square painting. Basically, this is like an 8 by 8 inch square painting, or a 9 inch by 9 inch, I think it is approximately. Okay, we'll see you on the next video. Enjoy your flower painting. Have fun. Lots of color. Remember, we didn't use too much water on this. We used mostly fresh squeezed paint with just a tiny bit of water on our brush. And we dried off our brush constantly, either on a sponge or on a tissue, to get that water off. Because when we're working and rinsing our brush constantly, sometimes when we're rinsing our brush, we're forgetting to dry off the brush a little bit. And then when we go back into our palette becomes all wet with water everywhere in the wells of the paint as well as in the pans of the palette. So that's the key here, is lots of paint, lots of tube paint, not that much water. Make sure that water is checked off of the brush and onto a sponge or a tissue. So we're constantly rinsing the brush, coming to the tissue, drying off the tissue with the tissue, going to the paint and bringing the paint to the paper. And that's one of the main things, to keep your painting looking really beautiful with lots of vibrant color, clean, pure color throughout. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Again, have fun and happy painting.